So, annual growth ring, a growth layer put on in a single growth year, including spring wood and summer wood. Bark, the outer layer of tree, comprising of thin inner living part, phloem, and outer bark or the cork layer, composed of dry dead tissue. Berseriyet ray composed of two rows of cell, as viewed in the tangential section. Cambium, the one cell thick layer of tissue between the bark and wood that is repeatedly subdivides to form new wood and bark cells. Cell, the general term of a minute unit of wood structure, including wood fibers, vessel segment, and other elements of diverse function structure. So cell wall, the wall that encloses the cell content. In a mature cell, it consists of several layers. Cellulose, the carbohydrates that is the principal constituent of wood and form as the framework of wood cells. Crystallites, the region of cell wall in which the cellulose is arranged in highly ordered crystal lattice in a parallel chains. So diffuse porous wood, a certain hard wood in which the pores tend to be uniform size and distribution throughout each annual ring to decrease a size slightly and gradually toward hardwood, generally one of the botanical groups of trees that have broad leaves in contrast to the conifers of softwood. Hardwood, the wood extending from the pit to the sapwood, the cells of which no longer participate in the life processes of the tree. Hemicellulose, group of carbohydrate that is found in the cell wall in more or less intimate association with cellulose. Lignin, the second most abundant constituent of wood, located principally in the middle lamina, which is the thin cementing layers of wood cells. Parenchyma, a small cell having simple pit and functioning primarily in the metabolism and storage of plant food materials. Pit, a relatively antique portion of cell in which a thin membrane may permit liquid to pass from one cell to another. Pitch pocket, an opening extending parallel to the annual growth ring containing or that has contained pitch, either solid or liquid. Then pit, a small soft core occurring in the structural center of tree trunk, branches, twig, or logs. So porous wood, another name for hardwood which frequently have vessels or pores large enough to be seen readily without magnification. Radial, a coincidence of radius from the axis of tree or log. The circumstance passes through the center line of the tree trunk. Rate of growth, the rate in which the tree has laid in wood, measure radially in trunk or lumber from the tree trunk. Rays of medullary rays, strips of cell extending radially with a tree and varying in height from a few cells in some species of RO 4 or more inches and 3 OK. Next is racine passage or duct, intercellular passage which contain and transmit resinous material. Next is ring porous wood, a group of hardwood in which the force comparatively large of the beginning of each annual ring and release or decrease in size or more or less abruptly towards the other portion of the ring. Sap, all the fluids in a tree, special secretion and incretions, and as aeration accepted. Sapwood, the living wood of pale color near the outside of the log. Softwood generally are one of the botanical groups of tree that is the most cases have needle-like or scale-like leaves. Specific gravity of wood, the decimal ratio of the oven dry weight of a pieces of wood to the weight of the water displaced by the wood at a given moisture content. Next is springwood, the portion of the annual growth ring that is formed during the early part of season growth. So no storage ray arranged in tiers or echelon as viewed at the tangential section. Summerwood, the portion of annual growth ring that is formed after the springwood formation has ceased. It is usually denser and stronger mechanically than springwood. Tangential, strictly coincidence with the tangent of the circumference of a tree or log parallel to such a tangent. In practice, however, is often means roughly coincidence with a growth ring. So a tangential section is a longitudinal section through a tree or leaf perpendicular to a radius flat green, lumber, and some hardwood. Next is truncate, the elongated cells that constitute the greater part of the structure of softwood, frequently referred to as fibers, also present in some hardwood. Chyloses, masses of parenchyma cells appearing somewhat like front in the pores of some hardwood, notably the white oak and black locust. Uniseriate rays consisting of one row of cells as viewed in the tangential section. Vessels, wood cells of comparatively large diameter that have open ends and are set one above the others so as to form continuous tubes. Wood fibers, thick-walled tapering cells surrounding the vessels and constituting the greater part of the wood tissues of the broadleaf trees. Xylem, the portion of the tree trunk, branches, and roots that lies between the pith and the cambium.